Hello and welcome, everyone, to Good Old Rocky Talk, the Vols Society podcast. I'm your host, Brad, here with my partners, the Davids. We're glad you're listening wherever you are. This is Good Old Rocky Talk. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Good Old Rocky Talk. I am your host, Brad Frank, here with my partners, David Dees and David Morrison. How you doing, guys?
Doing good, Brad. Good evening to you, sir.
Good
Doing
evening
good,
to you as
man.
well.
Excited to be celebrating a victory this week.
Woo! I tell you what, guys, I'm feeling pretty dang good today. All right, I felt good all weekend. Well, let me take that back. We'll go into this a little bit later. My body's just now recovering. Let's put it that way. After that game Saturday night.
Did you hang out with some
Hopefully.
Georgia fans and their
Oh, it has
like,
nothing. Here's the thing. No, don't think I was
like your neighbor
drinking
who
or
had played a drinking game last week?
no. I don't see. I don't have to do that. No, it wasn't because of drinking. No, it wasn't that at all. No, my body feels like a 95-year-old man come Sunday morning. I'm going to tell you why, and you tell me if there has to be other fans out there like this. In fact, I know David Dees is one of them because I didn't even say anything to David Dees. I woke up Sunday morning and I got a text from David, and it cracked me up, and I couldn't wait to share it with my wife. I said, "Megan, see, that's my wife, by the way, Megan. Shout out to my wife." I said, "See, I am not the only crazy Tennessee fan. Like other people, feel this way." And she just cannot. But she's not from the South; she's from the Northeast, and where it's just not the same unless you're born and raised in the South. People just don't understand the toll that it can have on the bod, as I call it. My wife always says, "God, don't call it the bod," but I like to call it the bod. It may be a dad bod, and oh, it's a dad bod all the way these days, baby. But here's the thing: we won that game. We're gonna do a deep dive real quick into that Pitt game. But if you saw the game, it was crazy. And as a Vol fan, you had to have been going nuts. I was sweating. I was jumping up and down. I was mad at times. I was kicking. I was running. I was screaming. And by the time, and by the way, why do our games seem to last 10 hours? I feel like they're the longest games ever.
It's all the fake injuries.
And after that game, because of what? The fake injuries. That's a good point. But after that game, I told my wife when it was over, I said, God, I really feel like I just worked out for like 5 hours in the gym. And the next day, I was no good to anyone. I had pulled muscles. I even pulled some fat. I didn't even know you could pull fat.
Yeah, man, it'll take a toll on you.
Oh, it's bad.
Your battered Vol syndrome kicks in very often in the middle of one of those games as you start to see momentum swing, and here we go again, and it's an emotional roller coaster. But
Yeah.
it's still, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
No, I wouldn't either. I might die from it one day, but right now, the doctors say I'm under control with my blood pressure meds and whatever else I need. And, I just had a revisit at the doc. He said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "Well, listen, football's got a big game this Saturday. I need to make sure the bod's ready to go." That's how serious we take it here. All right, guys, listen. Let's talk about it real quick. Tennessee goes on the road and plays its first big road game. And I'm going to tell you, we talked about this. We had a lot of fans. I was listening on other shows today as well. Tony Basilio in particular. I love that show. He's got a great radio show every day. And he said it best. He said, I'm going to tell you guys, he said last week fans were calling in saying, "Oh, we're just gonna romp Pitt. We're gonna kill him." And Tony said, "Really? Okay, if that's where you're at, sure." But Tony said it best. He said, "I knew this was gonna be a close game because the truth is, Pitt is a very good team. And we saw that Saturday night." David, Dees?
Yeah, I think I said in episode 1 of our podcast, this was the game for me. Maybe not the toughest game of the year, but this is the biggest game of the year because it was going to be an early hurdle in the season on the
Yep.
road against a ranked opponent, defending ACC champions. I knew their whole defense was back. They're excellent at getting after the quarterback, make it tough for you to run on them. And what we didn't know was how good Pittsburgh's offense was going to be this year. And we saw very early in that game with Keaton Slovis in there healthy, they were moving up and down the field on us pretty well. Our red zone defense came up big a few times there in the beginning to kill one of those
Yeah.
opening drives. But yeah, it was definitely a challenge and one that we had marked on our calendar. And we knew if we could win it and get over that hump early, it could set us up for the rest of the season. And here we are. We got a huge
Oh,
game coming up here in a couple of weeks now that we can enjoy.
I know. I know. Definitely, that Akron game's going to be such a great game. There's a lot of talent on that team. And oh, wait, are you talking about Akron or Florida? Sorry, just kidding, guys. Listen, first thing I want to say about that Pitt game. Okay, 2 years ago, and correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, 2 years ago, that kind of a game right there, we lose that game. Yes or no?
Even last year, you look at what happened last year. Lost that
Well,
game last
yes.
year.
But in particular, especially 2 years ago, heck, three, four, five, six, seven, I can keep going. Okay. Those kind of games with certainty, we lose those games. And we have.
Yeah.
That was the
Yep.
norm for the Volunteers. We never could figure out a way to win. But guess what? Josh Heupel figured it out. And I couldn't be happier. Did we play awesome? Did we play great? No, not really at all. Especially that first, that first half. No. No, we didn't. But we found a way to win. And to me, that means so much to me. Okay. Um, like I said, it wasn't pretty, but I would rather have an ugly win than an ugly loss. Morrison?
Yeah, you hit all the points there about that game Saturday. That was my biggest takeaway. Is we've seen this time and time again of getting into these highly emotional games, and how many times in the decades plus have we come away disappointed after disappointment? It's like, why couldn't we get that win? Why couldn't we? I was happy to see Tennessee, get into a scrap fight pretty much with Pittsburgh. And we didn't put up 40 plus points in this game.
Yeah.
But Josh Heupel and this staff found a way to they got into an ugly game, got into an ugly situation. Well, not an ugly situation, but into a battle with a top 20 program,
Right.
and found a way to win it at the end. I mean, when we were given the, and there were at times we were giving the game away to Pitt. I mean, you looked at the block punt that Paxton Brooks had on him, and Flowers fumbled the punt return.
Yes.
Uh, and then just uh, Kenneth George not covering well in the back of the end zone. But like I said, this team did not give up, and that's what makes me happy with this team. Is if years after years after years, it seems like this team's kind of had a little bit of a losing mentality, mindset. It felt like they kind of flipped the switch and like, let's find a way if we can pull this out. And there's at times, like I said just a few seconds ago, yeah, we were trying to give the game away to Pitt, but I was happy to see the leadership with the coaching staff, with the players, whether it was Hendon Hooker or Cedric Tillman or whoever. Like, let's go in there and let's win this game. And going into overtime, you saw the touchdown pass to Cedric Tillman, and then on 3rd and 10, we brought the house to Nick Patty and threw him down and set up a big fourth down. Which, I mean, it was a stressful 4th and 10, and he missed time as receiver. But like I said, I was happy to see this team, find a way to grind out a win. And
Yeah.
it's been way too long. And like I said, first road win against a non-conference opponent that was ranked
Yeah.
since 2003 when we went down to Miami, and Miami was at the top of their game. So, when you look at 19 years of, like I said, we played several neutral site games in that 20-year span, but the disappointing loss at Cal in '07. The next year that we lost at UCLA. we were totally outmatched at Oregon in 2013, and now
Right.
here's and Oklahoma the next year. And now you go to Pittsburgh, a game that we were favorites to win. But like I said, we knew, and I called it. It was going to be a nail biter, and it surely was. I mean, you bit your
Morrison
nails.
called it, folks. Go
Well,
back to last week. This is why David Morrison is my
I
senior Vol Society analyst,
yeah.
folks.
Well, I kind of saw
I
this movie
said
way
we'd
too many
win.
times.
I said we'd win by 10, but I thought we'd have control of the game for the most
Yeah.
part. Morrison says, yeah, you might be the founder, but I'm going to tell you something. It's going to be a nail
What
biter.
I
And
love
he was
about it is
right.
it's Josh Heupel's first huge win. He beat Kentucky
Absolutely.
last year, but we expect to beat Kentucky. This is the first one that you can actually like point to as you're
Correct.
building your program and say this was a
Correct.
huge hurdle to get over, and we did it. And he did it by his defense beating the hell out of a quarterback for 4 quarters. How long has it been since we've seen our defense get
God,
those kind of
he
shots on a
did.
quarterback? And
They
that's what excites
did.
me about it. We did it in such a way that got to give
Brother,
us confidence because that's not necessarily been our bread and butter or what you would think of with Josh Heupel.
yeah.
But his team was put
No,
in a situation where their offense was struggling to score points and the defense came up big, and so that's just something that you can
huge.
really build on. Love
Huge.
to see it happen that way.
And we talked about this, I think it was on Vol Society Live last Wednesday, Morrison. We were, I think we were asking people how many sacks are we going to get or something in the
Yeah,
game, and it
it
started with
was.
2, 3, and then we had one of our favorite guests, John B. He
Shout
said
out.
5. I mean, it just kept going up, and Morrison said, "God, why don't we just go to 10?" And I'm sitting here going, "Psh, guys are crazy. We're not going to do that. I haven't seen that." And if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, did, we ended up with like 4 sacks. Am I right on that, or am I wrong? And I think
You're
those were
right on that.
by
Four sacks.
Yeah.
okay, 4 sacks. Trevon Flowers, Wesley Walker, I think Byron Young, and Tyler
Wesley
Barron.
Walker,
Yes.
he had a big one in the second quarter.
Let me
Yeah.
tell you right now, man. Defense balled, especially when they needed to. They made big plays when they needed to. Hey, listen, let's give it up. Can we give it up real quick for Aaron Beasley?
Oh man.
Yes.
Come on. Good.
Probably been the best defensive player the first 2 games of the season.
7 tackles, laid the wood on that quarterback Saturday night. I
Also
tell you.
loved what we got out of Kamal Haddon at cornerback. He was
Oh,
fantastic at corner. He's our best
fantastic.
corner on the roster.
No question. Good point. Good point.
And then on offense, if Tillman doesn't have 2 of those drops, he's got the all-time receiving record in the game. Just Tillman and Hook, and you look at him and you're thinking, man, these guys are really struggling. And then you turn around and Hendon Hooker's the offensive player of the week in the SEC. So that just goes to show they left a lot out there, and he's still the SEC offensive player of the week.
What does that
That's pretty
say?
impressive, man. Yeah, it's
It's
pretty
very
impressive.
impressive. But no, you're right. Going into receiving, Tillman, I before I saw the stats, I thought, man, Tillman, he had an off night. Not great. And of course, I'm going back to some of those catches he should have had, which wasn't like Tillman. But we all have bad days. However, you look at the stats, still not bad. He still led the team with 9 receptions, 162 yards. But yeah, he had a couple of key drops. I didn't like those, but you know what? We found a way to win. What do you think of the rushing game? I wasn't, again, not impressed with our rushing game right
Run
now.
blocking struggled, and we stayed
Yes.
behind the chains in that game because of it.
Yes.
Fortunately, we recovered with short yardage situations. If it was 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, we were able to pick it up. But
Sure.
first downs, man, we really struggled first and second downs
Struggled.
running the football. And that's what I think really was the main cause for our offense struggling and being out of
Bingo.
rhythm is they just stay behind the chain so often.
Yep. Yep. I mean, Jalen Wright, he led the team in rushes
9 carries,
for a
47
whopping
yards.
47 yards. You're right, Morrison. 9 carries for 47. That's got to get better. I mean,
Yeah.
I know football's a different game than it once was when we had the big Jamal Lewis's and Travis Henrys and Stevens, but we'll talk about that later. There's some questions when we go to the mailbox about, certain things we can improve on, but certainly, rushing. We need to figure some stuff out there. But
And
no,
Brew McCoy
Hooker.
continues to impress, right?
Oh, fantastic.
Got to get him more touches.
We got to get. We do, and his size, man. He is a beast.
He
We
is.
have to get the ball to him more. He's a big guy.
That is deadly, having him and Tillman.
Oh gosh, but I agree. We have to get the ball to him more, and hopefully we will start doing that. But yeah, Hooker, he had a good night. Not bad. 27 to 42, I believe, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, and guess what? Still no interceptions. Is
That's
this
what I
guy
love about him. He plays with poise, and he
is
doesn't
this
panic.
guy gonna go last year? What'd he do? He was tied for second in the league, right? For interceptions
Only
at
threw three
3.
picks all last year. Yeah.
Is he gonna do this again? I mean, there's no
Hope
way.
so.
There's no way. I just
His
keep thinking
confidence to
like
make
that.
that play there in overtime, that pass to Tillman.
Okay. So,
There's not many
and that
guys who are
takes
going
me
to
to
do
my
that.
final point. Good point, Dees. Takes me to my final point with, which is we've already talked about it a little bit, well, a lot, but we found a way to win and we stuck it out all the way to the end. And that's where Hooker, that's why he deserves that player of the week. Okay. Because this guy came in, even though he didn't play his best game early on, he came in when it mattered in overtime with confidence and poise. And I mean, overtime was so fun to watch. We dominated overtime, and it was so great to see. I'm not used to that, Morrison. I'm not
No,
used to
not
seeing this.
no, not at all. I mean, it was fantastic. I mean, it just proves, you know, those 2 years when he was at Virginia Tech and played in some big games and now coming over to Tennessee, I mean, a brand new offense, an up-tempo offense, what he was not familiar with playing for the Hokies, but he picked it up very nicely. Very intelligent as far as football
Yeah,
IQ goes. And and like I said, I think Hendon Hooker, once his Tennessee career is done at the end of the year, yeah, I hope fans go back and look how and appreciate where he come in at. Like I said, the Tennessee program was starting. Hopefully we're trying to build up to something, and won 7 games last year, and now going on the road in a hostile environment, and threw 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, one like you said, one SEC Offensive Player of the Week, QBR rating of 82.5. It's just amazing and he hasn't, like I said, this is what his I'm terrible at math right now, but he doesn't have but less than 20 starts at Tennessee, and he's just putting
that's
up great
incredible.
numbers. I
Yeah,
mean, he's going to go down as one of the all-time great quarterbacks at Tennessee, and like I said, Tennessee fans really appreciate him right now, and once the years go by, I really can't wait to see how his legacy can impact future generations of quarterback play at Tennessee. I mean, everybody looks towards Peyton, and before that, he's Schuler and Congress Holloway, and on and on and on. And even I could throw Josh Dobbs in that mix. I think Hendon Hooker stands out on his own. Uh, of what he has brought to this program, and we should be
wow.
very grateful for it. And 3 interceptions pretty much in his career, and that was all last year. And like I said, here we go, 2 games.
Mm,
Yeah, Ball
mm-hmm.
State was a not much of an opponent, but like I said, going to Pitt, he did throw some high passes overall, but like I said, his poise and confidence of getting the ball to the receivers, and like I said, he hopes that his receivers can make that reception.
And guys, we'll move on after this. We've talked for almost 20 minutes about that pit game, as we should. Huge win.
Biggest win in our program in a decade.
I want to bring something up real quick, and we'll move on. I promise. Heupel's been here. This is his second year. I just got to bring this up. Remember where we were a couple of years ago, guys, and to where we are now. I think sometimes we might forget about that with everything going on. It is incredible if you think about the turnaround and how quick it's happened. I mean, I don't know. I think that's important to think about. We want to be this dominant team and back and relevant. And we are relevant already. I mean, we are ranked 15th in the nation. Think about this. This should excite you. This should validate how good Heupel is. Okay? His second year, he hasn't even completed 2 years here, and he's already got us at 15 right now.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this on Ball Society Live last year, and when we saw the build of this season, and we talked about the leadership and the players buying into it. The previous coaching staff, it was like a dictatorship military base, pretty much.
Well,
Kids
certainly
were
the
getting
recruiting was good.
well.
Thank you, thank you,
That's a
Philip
Philip
Fulmer,
Fulmer reference.
athletic director.
Yeah, exactly.
In case you don't remember that, God, that is so what hey, man, goodness. I love the man for what he's done at Tennessee over the years. He got us a national championship, but you go back and look at that whole you can find it on YouTube when Donde Plowman's there and Philip Fulmer, athletic director, and they're releasing, I'm not going to say his name. I'll,
Yeah,
JP. I'll say that. Coach JP. I'm not going to say his name because he's a joke.
yeah.
And
MTV star.
they ask Philip what he thought about everything. And yeah, that was his one liner. He said, well, certainly recruiting's been good.
As they're there to announce that they've been turning things
Yeah,
over to the NCAA about recruiting violations. So perfect.
It's all about recruiting violations. But yes,
whoops.
recruiting's been great, Phil. God, that was classic.
You
That's
tell him,
great.
Phil.
You tell him, Phil. Thanks for bringing us a national championship. But I don't thank you for being athletic director.
Yeah. But anyways, getting back to positivity. No, I mean, this is a good point
We
y'all brought
digress.
up.
Sorry,
But
David. Go ahead.
one thing I love about this coaching staff, and we mentioned it too, is like they're really teaching these kids. They're breaking down kind of fun. It's fundamentally, but they're not. There's no yelling. There's no screaming. No cussing.
Yeah.
It's just like
Well, they want to play for him, right?
absolutely, yeah.
And that's
I
what
mean,
kids want today. I mean, that's what everybody wants.
yeah.
You don't want to be feared, and
No.
you don't want
Unless
to
you're Ronnie
fear
Garner,
your
but that's all right.
leader, your coach. That stuff doesn't, work anymore.
No,
You want to
no,
buy in, you want to play for someone that you truly care about and they care about you. That's what's happening there.
yeah.
It's that
And
simple.
it's a family atmosphere, and at the end of the game, you saw Josh Heupel just bear hugging, jumping on top of a couple of his players, and
Oh,
then
it was
you
great.
saw them dancing in the locker room and celebrate, and then yeah, we've saw that before with other coaches, but I mean, this felt
Yeah.
different.
It
It
was
felt different.
authentic.
It felt like I mean, it's emotional just thinking about it. Just what
Tell him,
this
David.
program
Tell him.
was 2 years ago, rock bottom,
Yes, sir.
kind of, players leaving the program. You had a, kind of nameless players just had a jersey number, and now they've become household names in a span of over a year. I mean, yeah, you may have heard of a Hendon Hooker or maybe a Cedric Tillman or a Jalen Hyatt. Uh, you know, and like I said, Jalen Hyatt was on the preseason cover magazine in 2021, and you're like, okay, yeah, I've heard this guy, and now, boom, they're beloved, and it's just
Yeah,
it's a little emotional just thinking about just where we were and now where we are now, and thoughts and prayers
certainly.
going to the Nebraska football program. Maybe y'all get there one day.
Oh, gosh.
Those poor people.
I can't even
Ah,
laugh, man.
no, I feel for
I
them.
don't think I feel sorry. We've
Those
been
are our
there,
brothers in
folks.
the Big Ten, if we want to, or
We've been there.
stepbrothers.
We know what it's about, man.
What's sad for them though is there's no coming back from that. They should have never left their conference. Their program's going to be dead.
You are correct.
Yeah,
They can't recruit anymore being in the Big Ten.
Yep. That was a mistake,
yeah,
unfortunately. But, the truth hurts, but that's truth.
yeah,
Let's move on, guys.
yeah.
Awesome, awesome, awesome conversation. Look at that, 25 minutes already about just wow, we have so much to go over tonight. So let's move on. Wow, that's awesome. Guys, what a week it was again for college football. I mean, Is it just going to get better each week? This is insane. We had an awesome week 1, and then last week was just crazy.
It's starting to feel like 2007 all over again.
Bingo. Sure. All right, guys. So my question, what did we learn this past week in college football? Morrison, tell me in a nutshell. Go for it.
The biggest takeaway for me is the rise of the Sun Belt Conference. Shout out to the Sun Belt. 20 years ago, the Sun Belt Conference was a conference that SEC teams just scheduled for homecoming, give them $1 million check, beat them by 50 points, and make the alumni happy they came out and watched their team win. But now you've looked at where the Sun Belt Conference is now. They added Marshall, they added James Madison, they added Southern Miss from various conferences. And then, Appalachian State, they've been kind of the Cinderella story for the last 15 years or so. Beating Michigan back then, but then going down to College Station and upsetting Texas A&M on their home field. You look at Marshall.
Incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I did not see that coming. And even Appalachian State, kind of the giant killer of college football, is still shocking to
Yeah.
see that. You see Marshall, first year in the conference, go to Notre Dame and upset a top 10 program. And then, we just, buried Nebraska just a minute ago. But Georgia Southern, another Southern Sun Belt team with Clay Helton, former USC head coach, now taking over at Georgia Southern, going to Lincoln and picking up a win. And then Coastal Carolina was kind of the darling of the Sun Belt Conference, still a good team. Um, they're in that conference. And Georgia State, yes, they're a good Sun Belt team. Don't know about Arkansas State, but that we'll skip them for now. But I mean, I'm happy to see the Sun Belt Conference doing very well. Just kind of like at the one of the, I don't want to say the worst conferences in college football, but definitely one of those overlooked conferences. And
Yeah.
now I think they're probably the best group of 6 conference in college football. So that's my biggest
Absolutely.
takeaway this weekend.
Awesome. D's, what do you got, man?
I'd say Bama's got issues. They've got some
Oh,
refs in their pocket, but they've got issues. They've got some offensive line issues. They've got receiver issues. They've got some stuff to clean up, and they look very beatable right now.
they are
Um,
beatable.
I would say
Yep.
Jimbo Fisher is mediocre as a coach, and it's going
Yep.
to be proven out. And his style of play in this day and age, I just don't think is a consistent winner. And they laid an egg against App State the other day with horrible quarterback play.
Yeah.
And Mississippi State impressed me. They went on the road late Saturday night into a hornet's nest at Arizona, and they won that game. And I think they're going to challenge LSU this coming week. And if they win that one, look out. They deserve to be ranked, in my opinion, right now, and I
Sure.
think they definitely will be if they beat LSU. And so I think Mississippi State and Arkansas are right there with Alabama contending for the West.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. I like it. Yeah. So, I mean, there's really not much more for me to add. Everything you guys said is, I mean, spot on. What I would say is college football is not what it used to be, folks. If you don't believe me, then just go back, look at all these non ranked, smaller schools that are now out there competing with these so called big schools. 20 years ago, when we were growing up, this stuff didn't happen. Okay? Didn't happen. And now it it's happening all the time. So much more frequent. This App State game, guys, I'm telling you right now, is unbelievable. What a story. They go to College Station and beat them. App State. That's an hour and a half away from me in Boone, North Carolina, in the deep mountains of Boone. The Blue Ridge Mountains, guys. I'm telling you. By the way, we love vacationing there. It's an awesome area. Go back and look at the viral video after they won that game. It'll blow your mind. There's this like downtown area in Boone. It's very cute, very nice area. Restaurants, all that, cars are driving. All of a sudden, you see a stampede of thousands just rushing the streets. It was unbelievable. Well deserved. And it's just again, that's one thing you should learn right now, guys. That's one thing I know is football is a different game today, guys. Anyone can win. And it doesn't stop there. Notre Dame, you just mentioned it, gets beat by Marshall. I mean, this is unreal. And it's happening more and more. Hey, one last thing you didn't mention that I do want to talk about, and maybe this is me personally, but I learned after Saturday night that I don't think Florida is as good as the polls think they are, losing to Kentucky. I was not impressed with Florida really at all Saturday night. Now, the week before it was a different story, right? They came out, they won. That's all you heard about on the news, ESPN. And then, boom, they're ranked. Florida's back. I mean, I was hearing it all over. Florida's legit. They're good. Billy Napier, wow, well, look what he's done. I'm not saying they're a terrible team. I don't want you to think that because they're not. I just don't think they're that good. And Kentucky laid it to them, buddy. They got the W, and I think Tennessee's going to get the. I much more think come 2 weeks from now that Tennessee can can definitely get this win. Let's put it that way. Anything can happen, but I think Tennessee's got a great chance of winning in Neyland in a couple weeks. That's my take. Anything else?
Nah, you hit it everything.
Cool. Let's go on. Looking ahead, guys, to Tennessee, Florida game. Gosh, I don't even know what to say really, but I want to talk about it briefly. We know we're gonna win this Saturday. We know that's gonna happen. So we're gonna go in Neyland Stadium undefeated and play Florida. Okay. By the way, guys, and all of our listeners, do you know when the last time Tennessee and Florida were both ranked when they played each other?
I was gonna say like maybe 2006.
6. David Dees, what do you think?
I have no idea. 2007.
No, it wasn't that long ago. 2017. And
Okay,
you're going to remember this game as soon as I tell you.
I think I know where you're
Number
going.
24, Florida beats number 23,
Hail Mary.
Tennessee,
Hail Mary game.
26-20. When Felipe Franks, did we remember Mr. Franks?
He's
I do.
currently on my Falcons roster. Yeah. Playing tight end.
Throws a 63-yard touchdown
Mm-hmm. To
as the
Tyree
clock
Cleveland.
expires. Oh, it makes me want to vomit thinking. I remember it like it was yesterday. Anyways, that was the last time, 2017. That's when both teams were ranked. And here we are, 2 weeks. They'll both be ranked again. And the only thing I want to say about that, just, I don't have much to say except I think it's going to be epic. I think it's going to be a heck of a game. I think the crowd's going to be incredible. The environment's going to be nuts. And it'll be one of the top games, certainly, of that Saturday. That's all I can say. Morrison, Dees, do you have anything you want to add going into Florida?
It's a big game. I mean, these are the type of home games that our fan base has been chomping at. No pun intended. Uh, with Florida coming into town, Neyland Stadium's going to be rocking and rolling. There's going to be a lot of recruits there that weekend. You want to, uh, like I said, get another big statement win early on in this season. Uh, I mean, yeah, it's a big game and it's a big rival game. And it's interesting, a lot of Tennessee fans, probably more of our parents' age, remember Tennessee Alabama being a big rival game, and it's still a big rival game. But it feels like more of the Gen X to the millennials probably considers Florida maybe a bigger rival than Alabama because when we were growing up, Tennessee was dominating Alabama, and now Alabama's kind of dominating us. But like I said, this is a huge game, huge rival game. SEC East implications intact. I mean, yeah, Georgia's still at the top of the division, but this. I mean, like I said, this is just a huge game overall, and like I said, I'm excited
Yeah.
for it here in a couple weeks. Go ahead, Deej.
Awesome.
It's one we got to win. We got to get over it, and now's the time
Yep.
to do it. We're getting them at home. We're going to have a hornet's nest going on there. We got to get them. Anthony Richardson's certainly capable of coming up here and running all over us, and that's still my concern. Our linebackers are going to have to be ready to go for that one. We'll break that game down
Yeah.
next week, but you can say what you want. It's Tennessee, Florida, and it's time to get over the hump. And it would just be so huge. That's why we wanted to win that pit game, right? So we could set the stage for this one. This is the one we really want to get. And now's the time to do it.
Exactly.
If not now, then when?
Yeah. I mean, our schedule couldn't be better this year.
And they're a very beatable team.
Certainly. Hey, and you said it earlier. Bama is beatable this year, guys. I'm not saying we're going to do it, but I'm going to tell you right now. Hey,
Got a lot
there's a
of road
lot of
games.
flaws in a lot of these teams out there, guys.
And don't let these kids keep getting confidence. They keep winning these games. You start churning
Yeah.
out a Pittsburgh win on the road, and you churn out a
Yeah.
Florida win at home, and then you're confident going to LSU, coming off a
No
bye week.
question. No
You go down
question.
there and do that, and then you're 5-0, 5-0 at that point, and you got
Good
Alabama coming to
gracious.
town. Are you kidding me? In year 2 of Josh Heupel?
Let's go.
I don't
Woo!
want to put the cart before the horse, one game at a time. But
No.
hey, we're not
No, no,
players, right?
no.
We're not the ones playing the game. We get to talk about this
No.
stuff. You bring Florida in here in 2 weeks, and it's time to kick their ass.
Gotta love the intensity. Mm. Time for the next segment. One of our favorites. One of our favorites, guys. Let's do it. This is mailbag time, where we get to answer your questions. Once again, guys, we love you. We thank you for listening and following. A lot of these other places, they'll sit there and just spend all day talking about where to follow, where to listen. I'm not going to do that here. I haven't even said it once yet, but I'm going to say it now, and that'll be the only time I really say it. We get these questions from a variety of sources, mostly from our Facebook. If you're listening to this, go check us out on facebook.com/Vol, VOL Society. David Morrison, our lead analyst, he does a show every Wednesday evening at 8 p.m. live. That's where we allow you to partake, ask questions for the podcast or whatever. If you want to shout out, we'll do it there. We've been having amazing shows lately. Since football season started, I can't believe how good the live show has been going. Morrison, would you agree with that?
Oh, it's been some of the best Vol Society lives we've had in the
Unreal.
2 year run or almost 2 year run. It's been a lot of fun, a lot of interaction with the chat room all across our social media platforms. You were on the first the Ball State episode and ran
Yeah.
like over an hour long, and it was just fantastic. Like I said, be a part of it on Wednesday nights, and like I said, you can answer questions live on the show, and I'll answer it, or one of us can.
Right.
And like I said, it's very relaxing, very fun.
It's a fun
Just
show.
just kick back and laugh and preview whatever game's coming up.
Yep. So there's that. We're on Twitter as well. Twitter at Society Vol. And we're on YouTube. I would follow our YouTube as well. That's where you're going to get some funny videos. My wife likes to secretly record me on a big game. If a big play happens, I kind of lose my mind. Sometimes that happens. I don't recall what's going on in the moment. But she records it, and we've had some viral videos and all that. Barstool Sports picked up one, so be sure to follow us, guys. And obviously follow us, subscribe to us on our podcast. If you're a volunteer fan, you know, we're glad you're here. But let's go ahead and answer some
And be
questions.
sure to rate
Uh,
and review us on the podcast as well.
That would be fantastic. Thank you, David Dees. Yeah, that helps us out tremendously. And I can't tell you, we never really thought about a podcast, but we had fans say, "Hey, you need to do a podcast." And we did some research. We looked into the market and said, "You know what? Let's do it this football season, and we'll give it a try and see if the fans like it." The analytics are, I'm impressed. I can't believe how, actually, you know what? I should not be surprised by this. I know Vol fans are one of a kind, and you guys are showing out. You're following, you're liking. We just need more subscribers and reviews on the podcast, whether that be Apple, Spotify, or Amazon. We're on all of these platforms at Good Old Rocky Talk, TALK. But let's get right into it, guys. All right, Rusty Y. Rusty Y from Newport, Tennessee. Newport,
Cock County.
Cock County, baby. Love it. Rusty, thank you so much for the question here. He asked, what does Tennessee need to improve on the most between now and the Florida game? It's a great question. It's important. And I'll go first. Well, I think on defense, our secondary needs to be sharper. I said this before the season even started. One of the questions was, what are you most concerned about? I believe this was a few weeks ago before the season started. And that's the one thing I just had, lack of confidence with is our secondary. I'm so sick of, we've been struggling with it. It's third down and long, and teams have just been converting, and it's driving me nuts. So I would say, going into that Florida game, I still think we need to be sharper in our secondary. Okay. Um, let's get 3 and out, get the defense off the field. Offense, running game. Maybe I'm crazy for saying this, but we need to improve on our running game. That way we're not relying on the pass all the time. And I haven't been super impressed. We've only had 2 games. I get it. But I haven't been that, hyped up about our running game. So I want to get something going. I want to get something going with Wright, Small, and I'll tell you what, I'd like to start seeing freshman Dylan Sampson get some reps. Morrison, what do you think?
Uh, yeah, you hit it right. Secondary and the rushing game definitely needs improvement on both sides of the ball there. My I guess my what I want to see going into Florida is special teams. I mean, had a block
Mm,
punt, had
yep,
had a fumble on a return. Is Flowers confident enough to take one to the house, or do we need to put somebody else in? I mean, even a fair catch, something. The confidence on special teams. I mean, Chase McGrath has done a fantastic job, and Paxton Brooks has done a good job too. But those are
yeah.
concerns now. Like I said, special teams about cost us the game last week against Pitt. So I want to see that improve big time against. I mean, you will probably see it somewhat with Akron, but definitely going into Florida. If you're pinned back deep in your own end zone, I want to see Paxton Brooks get rid of it. Even whoever's snapping the ball, snap it a little quicker, get it out there.
Yeah.
And then like on the return game, who's it going to be? Like I said, do you still feel confident in Flowers? Was that just a hiccup in that game, or is there concerns? Because special teams is a huge part of what wins and lose ball games.
I love it. Great points. And you're right. That almost cost us last week. You're right. David D's.
Yeah, you guys hit the big ones already. Um, I would add to that. I want to see Brew McCoy get more involved. I want to see him get more comfortable in this offense. I
Yes.
think when you can start more evenly distributing the ball to those guys, throwing to the left side, then the right side, mixing it up, making it a little more balanced, that's just going to make it harder to defend. So I agree with everything you guys said, and then just getting Brew McCoy and some of those other receivers involved. They talked
Yeah.
about preseason, bringing in 6, 7 guys and rotating them at wide receiver. They did that game one against Ball State, and then they got away from it. I think only 4 wide receivers played with the main starters, and then Ramel Keaton got a few plays, a couple of targets, but against Pitt. So yeah, I just like to see them kind of mix it up and get Brew more involved in the offense because I think he's a very special player.
That's a great point. Brew is too talented not to be out there getting more, throws coming
Yeah,
his
it's
way.
early. It's early. He's going to have to get more comfortable in the offense, and it's a work in progress. But you'd like to see it by Alabama and LSU, Alabama, Georgia. You definitely want Brew McCoy uh,
Yeah.
more involved in this offense.
Yeah. Awesome. Those are good points, guys. Let's go to our next question. Craig A. from Monterey, Tennessee. Where is that, guys? Where's Monterey?
So West Tennessee.
I think it's somewhere out west. Yeah,
There's a Monterey
Welcome, West
Mexican
Tennessee.
restaurant in my
not
hometown.
sure. Yeah, I know where Monterey's is, the Mexican restaurant. That's right.
But this is not what we're talking about.
Monterey Mexican
Get you some cheese dip
restaurant.
and a pollo loco, huh?
Oh, or Monterey
See,
salad.
Monterey
Guys, don't do
salad.
this
Yeah,
to me.
yeah.
I haven't been to Athens in many years. But that used to be my go-to back in the day, guys. The Monterey salad or the what was it? The pollo
Pollo
what was
Loco.
Pollo loco.
po- pollo loco.
That was your
Yes,
place,
pollo
and don't
loco.
forget about Wong's Palace, Chapman Highway. Anybody ever heard of Wong's
Sh-
Palace, Chapman Highway? It's unfortunately not there anymore. Brad ate them
Shout,
single-handedly out of crab rangoons during his time in college. So
shout out the
R.I.P. Wong's
Wongs.
Palace.
Shout out the Wong's Palace on Chapman Highway. When I was in college, I was a much bigger guy than I am now. And I like to eat.
Craig's
I
getting way
still
more
love to
than he
eat.
borrowed. Craig's getting way more
We
than he asked for with this
apologize. I'm sure
question.
Monterey, Tennessee is a wonderful town. We're just
Yeah, we've certainly digressed.
we are
Thanks for
East
listening,
Tennessee
Craig.
biased.
Craig, we have not forgot about you, I promise.
All right.
But when it comes to food, we just gosh, we have so many stories about food. All right. We love Monterey, Tennessee. Let's get back to you, Craig. So he asked us on Facebook. He says, "Do you think the SEC East has caught up with the SEC West?" Wow. That's an interesting question. David Dees, you want to take this one first?
Um, I don't know that I would am willing to say that yet this early in the season. Let's see how the season progresses, and let's see the SEC East, in particular Tennessee, Florida, uh, Kentucky. Let's see them put this kind of effort together for another year or two or three. But
Yeah.
to have some consistency there. You've had teams flash in the East for several years, but they certainly have in terms of Georgia arriving. Georgia's now just as much of a power in the East as Alabama is in the West. They recruit just like Alabama does, and they've obviously now won a national title. So you have them as the big power in the East versus Alabama as the big power in the West, and then you've got maybe it's a deeper division this year than the West is. I think I'd be willing to say that.
Would it be fair to say, David, that it's trending that way?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is.
Mhm.
And then who knows once Oklahoma and Texas join the mix and what all that's going to look like. But as things are currently configured, yeah, I think it's heading in that direction.
Yeah. That's what I think.
If Tennessee gets
Yeah,
back like we
I
think they're
agree.
heading back, then yes, I will say it's
It's
arriving.
trending that way.
Yeah.
Yes. Morrison, what do you think, bud?
Yeah, I agree with D's. It's kind of hard to say right now. I could see a trend heading that way. I mean, right now Texas
Yeah.
A&M has big time question marks after their performance. LSU, who knows what's going on with Brian Kelly. I mean, Alabama's still at the top of the West, but you're seeing programs that are starting to rise. Not besides us, Kentucky. They've kind of been steady where they've been the last few years, but they're a program that has definitely risen over the last 10 years. Florida, they're just one or two big players away from really getting back towards the top. Hopefully, we don't see that happen, but it could happen. Um, and but it could trend that way. I mean, we just gotta see what's going to happen eventually down the road.
And keep in mind, Shane Beamer was omitted from that discussion. He's not helping
Oh
the SEC
gosh.
East at all. In fact, I think
No,
his
he's
fan base
not.
is about to be tired of him pretty soon.
The circus is in
Oh,
town.
have I ever mentioned that he's a clown?
We're not Shane Beamer fans on this show, are we?
Listen. Oh, okay. I'm not even gonna go there.
I
I'm
love
gonna
his dad.
digress.
Respect to his dad.
Well, that's fine, but we're not talking about his dad. We're talking about Shane the clown. Anyways, I'm not gonna. I did enough last week on this guy. Okay, let's go to Jamie T. Jamie T from Knoxville,
Where's that at?
Tennessee.
The 865.
The
Home of Wong's
865.
Palace. R.I.P.
Chapman Highway, Wong's Palace. Go to Google and it's permanently closed, it says. And I probably know good reasons why. It
Hey,
was
favorite
pretty
restaurant.
nasty.
Hey, I'm going to ask a question. Favorite restaurant in Knoxville? Go.
God, that's a good question. I haven't been, well, I don't even know if I can say that. I haven't been to Knoxville since 2010.
Oh gosh, gotta get you in town.
2010, David. I left to go to Los Angeles in 2010. I haven't been back to Knoxville. But I will be at the Florida game, in case you're wondering, in 2 weeks. It's the first time that I've been there since I left for Los Angeles in 2010. So I hear it's a different place since when I was there.
A few more
But
people
that's a
have
good
joined.
question. I guess I could talk about a different, I did go to college there. Let me put it to you this way. I'll give you my answer as a student, an undergrad that went there. Now I want to see if anybody can guess this. This should be common sense if you talk to a to a Tennessee undergrad or graduate program student, whatever. Let's see. Anybody have any ideas? What would be my favorite place on campus?
Do you like Gus's?
Bingo. Gus's Good Time Deli. Guys, I'm telling you, I can't even tell you how many times late at night after a game I would go and stand in that line and go to Gus's Good. Shout out to Gus's Good Time Deli right on campus. Hey, say what you want. They make incredible burgers. And they've been around for a long time, and it's definitely a favorite for UTK students, period. All right, David Dees, what's your favorite restaurant in Knoxville? It doesn't have to be on campus,
Not on
but go ahead.
campus. Sam and Andy's and Louis.
Love
Those are
it.
my two jams. Grew up eating those. Those are my favorites. Louis in
What's the second?
Fountain City. Louis out in Fountain City. Louis
Louis.
Italian. Love their
Oh,
spaghetti, their
yeah.
garlic bread, their onion rings, homemade blue cheese dressing for the salad.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Now, I
forget
know
about
Sam
it.
and Andy's for sure. I haven't been to Louis, but Sam and Andy's fantastic. How about you, Morrison?
Oh, see, I'm one of these people. Even though I've been to Knoxville several times, I've never been to like the big popular places. Like I've never
Hey,
done
I don't
Yale
care if it's
Steakhouse.
Subway. You just name whatever you like, buddy. If you go to Knoxville, what's a good meal
Uh,
for you, man?
Texas Roadhouse on Turkey Creek. I know it's
Woo! Hey, buddy, when I was in college, this is another reason I got to my freshman, sophomore year, I was like 300 plus pounds. One of those reasons, because I would go to Texas Roadhouse in Turkey Creek as a freshman 2 or 3 times a week, and I would eat all you
goodness.
can on those rolls.
Yeah.
Those rolls with cinnamon butter is a heart attack waiting to happen. But you know
Mm,
what? I didn't care, and I ate them 3, 4, 5 baskets at a time.
mm-hmm.
Wong's for
Great
lunch, and
place.
then Texas Roadhouse's rolls for dinner.
Oh,
You had it made.
gosh. I had it made. And then at like 1, 2 in the morning, I would make a trip to Crystal right down
Oh,
from my dorm room. We had
there
a
we go.
Crystal that would stay open on the strip there
Have you
on
noticed
Cumberland
Ray J's
Avenue.
on their commercials now? The Crystal commercials.
No kidding. Dude, I
He's
can't
like
even tell
working in a
you.
drive-through window. Yeah, it's pretty hilarious.
Dude, I would go and get like 1 in the morning on
You're like,
Cumberland
what?
Avenue on the strip. I'd pull in the drive-through 1 in the morning. I'll never forget this. I'd study whenever I did study. And after I was tired of studying or whatever I was doing, I'd be
Number
like, man,
one with cheese?
I gotta eat, man, before I go to bed.
Did you get
I
a
would
number
go at
one
like
with
1
cheese?
in the morning. Oh no, no. Remember, I was like, that's not
Not a
enough for me.
sack
It's
full.
300 pounds.
Did you get
I
a
did do
sack
the
full?
sack full. I would do the sack full occasionally, but no, my go to was a Crystal Chick combo. Love the Crystal
Go with
Chicks
the chicks.
with a large fry, large Coke, and then I would get a large. Tell me if you ever had these chicken bites.
Oh, I think they discontinued those.
God, it's because I left Knoxville.
Hey,
No one was
I got another
ordering
one
them
for you. You
anymore.
remember Sawyer's when they were there on campus?
Okay, first of all, Sawyer's. That is fantastic, David. Everyone listening, if you don't know Sawyer's and you're a Tennessee fan, then you're not a Tennessee fan. 17th Street at the corner, right, David? 17th Street in
Absolutely.
Cumberland.
That's it.
Sawyer's is a place that I will always remember growing up, middle school, even into I don't know when it went out of business. I think it was out of business. I think when I started college, I believe. Um, but I'm going to tell you right now, that place was rocking. Good chicken baskets,
And their sauce
incredible.
was
Sawyer
very
sauce,
similar to like the Zaxby sauce, but better.
God, unbelievable. You know what? We need to do a segment in the next few weeks when it's and talk about just like Cumberland Avenue, some of the places that are the go tos. Like this is unbelievable. It's bringing me back, guys. Sawyer's was incredible.
We'll do that on our bye week episode.
There you go. I like it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's go to another question. God, I love food. I could talk about food
What
all
was the
day.
question for the Knoxville guy?
We need to do like, oh yeah, Morrison. You see what
we went like 15 minutes talking about every restaurant in Knox
You see?
County, and we didn't even answer his football question. He's probably never going to ask a question again.
Jamie T, I love you, buddy. I still love you.
I hope you enjoy it, Jamie.
Thanks for
Jamie
hanging in there
T.
with us, Jamie.
Hey, brother. And I'm going to tell you right now, Morrison, thank you so much for reminding us because I'm going to tell you this question's awesome, and I would not want to miss this one. Jamie T from Knoxville. By the way, I'm hungry again. I'm going to go eat here in a minute. Yeah, Jamie T from Knoxville, Tennessee. He asked on Facebook, is it time for Lee Corso to retire?
Jamie has a sense of humor
awesome.
with that question, so he must appreciate this little food segment, hopefully.
He's got to love what we just talked about because that is a sense of humor question. I love it. Who wants to take this one? Anybody?
I'll go
Poorly
for it.
Corso. Go ahead, David.
Go ahead.
I used to kind of be anti-Corso probably 20 years ago because he felt like he never picked us. But I guess as he's gotten older, I've kind of grown soft to him and I appreciate what he does, even though like his prime run was different. But like I said, he's going to go out on his own terms, and as long as he's there, uh, yeah, it is what it is. I think with McAfee joining this week, I'm sure that's probably what they're probably grooming him towards is to kind of be the next
Yeah.
Corso. McAfee's very a big time personality. So
Right.
I mean, as long as he's there, that's cool. I like I said, but yeah, I could. I mean, I don't know. Go ahead, Deez.
I think
I
David's
love that
trying
Morrison
to.
gave like a political answer. Good answer, David.
God, I was getting ready to say that.
Hey, yeah, it's time. It's time for Lee Corso to retire. Hey, I enjoyed McAfee
let's just get
on there.
right to it.
He was pretty good. I liked his segment or his episode this week. It was pretty good. But yeah, Lee Corso, it's time to go. It's probably 10 years past time to go. Time for him to go.
Here's what I'm going to say about this, guys. I'm going to say this. Lee has always been the face of College Game Day, period.
Yeah.
And by the way, I looked this up before we started the show. Do you know this guy's been doing this program since it debuted? Do you know, by the way, do you know when College Game Day debuted?
Is it 1990?
You're close.
Okay. Because Tim Brando was the original host.
Nope. So
Oh, was it?
1987.
87.
So you were close. I mean, I was just a baby then. We all were. So he's been there forever. Love the guy. I've always enjoyed it. He's one of those guys you wake up on a Saturday morning and you see his face on TV. You know, it's one of those things where it's like you feel good. You know it's college football time. That's what I'm going to say about that. Um, However, there comes a time when you need to know when it's time to hang it up. It's hard to do that. I understand. But if I'm going to answer your question, Jamie, the truth is yes, he probably should retire soon. Um, did you guys actually have a chance to see see the video that kind of went viral a few weeks back?
Oh yeah,
Of course, so on the air. Did you see that, Dees?
yeah. It's just
It
sad. I feel bad for him.
it wasn't even funny. People are laughing. I'm not even laughing. Like he literally was making no sense, and he was completely. To be honest, he was confused, and so was everyone listening to him. It was sad to see, but I think his days on that show are numbered. Um, but God, what a run he's had. Seriously, I'll say that. That's
If he
yeah.
doesn't step aside soon, they're going to be wheeling him out there like Weekend at Bernie's and propping him up on the set. So,
They're gonna have to toss weekends at Bernie.
but God bless Lee Corso.
Shout out the weekends at Bernie. You haven't seen that, youngsters? Go and rent it, or we don't rent anymore. What do we do these days? We
We
just
stream.
What's on Hulu?
purchase it. We
I think it's
stream
on
it.
Hulu right now.
That's what
Dude,
us kids
that
do.
is
We stream.
fantastic.
Hmm.
Could you see what's going to happen? They're going to wheel him out there and they're going to put like ropes and stuff around his hands and his face. And you're
Hey,
going to
as
see
long as he's wearing a
Corso.
Davy Crockett hat here in 2 weeks, he can stay around for a little while. How about that?
I like that. I like that. He's going to be a puppet out there. That's so funny. I'm just envisioning like Corso pulling a rope and it like moves his hand. And oh my God,
They can
that's so funny.
CGI him. They can use him in like a hologram. And
CGI. That's fantastic. Great question, Jamie. Sorry it took us forever to get to that question. Food kind of got in the way with that. So sorry, buddy. All right, let's go to another question. Gary. We have Gary G from Stevenson. Guys, listen to this. Stevenson, Alabama?
Vol Nation's everywhere, man. You got Vol fans all over the country.
All right.
Gary, we are very glad you're with us and that
Stevenson's
you're an
not far
Alabama
from me
fan.
here in Chattanooga.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. So his question is, do you think Dylan Sampson will start to play more? Well, that's a good question. And I actually, mentioned that earlier on things I would like to see improved and, things we need that I'd like to see going into the Florida week. Right. So I think you already know my answer there. Well, the answer is I don't know, but I hope so. I hope so. I think he's a great player. I know he's a freshman, but I would like to see him get in there and help the running game. So yes, Gary Morrison, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. I think we'll start seeing it probably this Saturday, maybe when we have a huge lead with Akron. But you need to have that third running back. Like I said, we've seen Small and we've seen Wright and the struggles with the running game. Um, if I would love to have Sampson in there, get a few touches out there, get a three running back rotation. I mean, you're not going to run it 40, 45 times a game, but definitely keep a fresh running back out there. I'm not sure what he does blocking wise or if he can catch out of the backfield, but if he has them traits, yeah, take advantage of that too. Um, like I said, especially, I remember Jerry Mack talking about this last year. You got to have five healthy running backs to go through a season. And, we saw last year Tyjon Evans leaving and, injuries was small and right. And it kind of got depleted by the time we got to the bowl game. And I think you gotta have some guy. I mean, you have five guys in your running back room, but you need to have that playing experience instead of just practice touches stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're so thin. They're going to have to get him more involved. And I'm sure the reason he probably did not play this week against West Virginia, if I had to guess, is because of pass protection, and just whether he was going to be able to hold up against the pass rushers of West Virginia, and as much as, or excuse me, Pittsburgh, as much as they like to get after the quarterback. But every time Josh Heupel talks about Dylan Sampson, he just raves about him. He gushes over him. So I think he's going to uh, start playing more and more. And I'd say by the middle to end of the year, he's going to be a factor as the number 3 back.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, we've gone an hour and 6 minutes. My goodness, the show just keeps getting longer. It's time to wind it down. So let's finish off with a couple of questions and then we're done here. Thank you guys for your questions tonight. Fantastic. Keep them coming. All right, guys. So we have Akron this week. I guess I'll say, what are your thoughts on the game, Morrison?
Yeah, I'm not expecting much out of this game. Yeah, I like very similar to Ball State. Probably will show a little bit more than what we did with Ball State, but I expect pretty much kind of going through the basics, kind of cleaning up some stuff that got exposed with Pitt, and just go out there and put up a big offensive showing. The only thing I know about Akron, Joe Moorhead, who used to be the head coach at Mississippi State, is now at Akron as their head coach. I think this is his first year. So some familiarity for Tennessee fans there. But yeah, I'm not expecting much. They got shut out by Michigan State over the weekend. So just go out there, clean up some mistakes, play a nice, solid game, and let's get ready for Florida.
Yeah. David Dees?
Get your starters in there for a quarter and a half, and get them out. Let's get out of this game
Yep.
healthy. And, it's an opportunity. I'm just thankful they're playing Akron this week. Originally, if you guys remember, they were scheduled to play Army this week.
Correct.
And the more you look at that, we bought out of that game. I think it was like $100,000 or whatever they paid them to not play it.
Correct.
And they run that funky, triple option style uh, offense. So you're only going to see it one time in a season. You're going to scrap that game plan as soon as you're done. So I'm just thankful that we're not playing that game this week, the week before Florida, and we get to play somebody. We can go out, work our stuff, get in, get out, get it over with without a whole lot of preparation or thought put into it. And we can go ahead and start looking ahead to Florida even now, So not having Army in the schedule is a big
Yeah.
deal. Thankful we got out of that. And I think Fulmer is the one that got us out of it. So shout out to Fulmer for doing that. But anyway, let's just get out of this game healthy.
Big
And
Phil, we love you, buddy. Yeah.
let's get out of it healthy.
Cool. Yeah, my thoughts on Akron. Well, what do you want me to say, guys? They played Michigan State last week. They lost 52-0. Did you hear me? 52-0. 0. They play Tennessee Saturday, and they're going to lose by even more. That's really all there is to say about that.
They went in week 1 to overtime with St. Francis of Pennsylvania and won 30-23. So these guys are bad. We scheduled 2 MAC teams this
To
year.
the bone.
And they're both
St. Francis of Pennsylvania?
Both bad MAC teams. So
bad to the bone, baby.
Line opened at 50. I think it's down to 47.5 now, but it opened at 50. 50-point spread. Tennessee is the favorites. And I actually think they're going to cover that.
Well, we'll get to that in just a second with our predictions. Did I hear this right? I glanced at it. You know how you get alerts on your phone from ESPN and stuff like that? I could have sworn, maybe I dreamed this, but did I see this right where it said that it was like the highest like spread or something?
For
This
Tennessee, I believe it
Akron
is.
game?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
Something like that. That's an incredibly high spread. And who knows? I mean, you don't play your starters the whole game, so I mean, who knows? But
Well, that's true.
We'll get to
That's
that.
true. Awesome. All right, guys, let's finish it up. Last question of the show here. It's been a good one. What are your score predictions for Saturday against Akron? How about we go with David Dees first?
Tennessee 59, The Zips, 6.
Okay. Morrison.
Go Tennessee 61, Akron 3. Going to be ugly.
Okay. Oh, it's going to be ugly. I'm going to go Tennessee 98. I'm just kidding. I'm going to go Tennessee 63, Akron 0. It's
Going
going
to
to
be
be ugly.
It's going to be an empty stadium by halftime.
This ball game's on ESPN Plus, so if you got to have the ESPN Plus app to be able to watch this game.
Yeah.
That's how big this game is, guys.
Yeah.
Do you guys
You know
remember
who
back in the day, you'd have to have pay-per-view to watch it, and you'd have to go get the box and bring it to your
I'll
house?
never forget
Do you remember
that.
that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Unless you had a legal
Wow.
satellite.
Your announcers for Saturday is Drew Carter and Aaron Murray, and a fellow Charlotte connection. Ashley Strum? She works for NBC in Charlotte. Brad, you may know who she is. She has a very long last name. The sideline
What are we
reporter.
shouting out? What about her?
The announcers for
Really?
the game. Ashley Strumbaroli. I'm butchering the name. Anyways,
I don't know.
doesn't matter.
Interesting.
Drew Carter and Aaron Murray on the call for Saturday.
Cool.
Yep.
Oh, real quick before we get off, David, because we talked about this last week, who was announcing the game last week, and you said, "Oh, I love him." Who was it? Was it
Sean Madonna?
Sean? So you're like, "Oh yeah, I love him too. He's great." Did you guys see the hot mic
Yeah, we were talking about that off air.
situation?
I
What are
thought it
your
was,
thoughts?
I thought it was a bit of a reach, but I could see where some Tennessee fans got upset by it.
Okay.
Nah,
I
they
thought,
didn't do anything wrong.
No, I didn't think so either.
I mean, I know some people are talking about their body language, like they were like, oh, they probably wanted a pit win. Well, I mean, they just called a college football game for 4.5 hours. So.
I'm just glad they didn't say something stupid and ruin their career over it like Tom Brenneman did last year.
Oh gosh.
And
Seriously, it
in the left
happens
field,
so much. No, I was very glad to. I tell you though, wouldn't you think? I feel like if I was in that kind of business, man, it happens so much. The hot mics and stuff, and people's careers are ended over this stuff. If it were me, and maybe it's easier said than done, man, if I'm on one of those shows and that's my job, I'm not saying crap.
No.
Until that mic
like
is
a loaded weapon. Be careful what you use it.
I'm not saying crap. I don't care if the guy says, and we're off. Until I see that mic ripped off of me and turned off, man, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
You would think they would learn. I don't understand it. Anyways.
Well, they didn't do anything wrong in this case. Yeah.
They did not. They did not. Do you guys have any last words before we shut it down tonight? Awesome show.
I'm hungry. Let's go eat some leftovers. I've got some leftover Chinese food in the fridge. Let's get it. Go Vols.
God, I'm jealous. Probably go eat some potato chips or something downstairs.
Yeah. I'll be there Saturday for the Akron game. So.
Oh wow.
So I do have a ticket for that. So check out our Vol Society Facebook page, and I'll be posting stories throughout the game. And like I said, I'm excited to see. This will be the first time I get to see the new renovated Neyland Stadium. So I'm excited to see all the new renovations in person, besides pictures and stuff. So looking forward to that on Saturday.
Yeah, be sure to keep us up to date on on the Facebook page, David. Pictures, videos. That's cool, man. Well, enjoy the game. I'll be there in 2 weeks. All right, guys. Well, this has been a great episode. Thank you for joining us this evening. Have a wonderful, glorious week.
Fall temps. We're waking up in the morning and it's 50 degrees.
You know what that tells you? Fall is here. That better excite you. Have a glorious week. Get out early in the morning, get a cup of coffee, and just smell that fresh air. We love you guys. Go Vols. Beat Akron. Have a good evening.